There are voices that sing, and then there are voices that linger. They stay with you after the music has stopped. Jeff Buckley had one of those voices. It was a sound that seemed to carry all of human emotion. It could soar to angelic heights, then fall to a whisper of profound sadness. Even now, decades after his passing, that voice continues to echo. His story is one of bright, burning talent. Jeff Buckley was a man haunted by the ghost of his father he barely knew, the legendary musician Tim Buckley. This video will explore the man behind the voice. It's about the search for connection, the weight of the past, and the courage it takes to find your voice. It is a story of grace, pain, and enduring mystery. Our journey begins at the start. We travel back to Jeff Buckley's childhood in Southern California with his mother, Mary. It was a life filled with music from the very beginning. His mother was a classically trained pianist and celloist, and his stepfather introduced him to rock and roll. Music was the air they breathed. It was the language through which love and life was expressed. This shaped the young artist. He found his truest self with a guitar in his hands. Jeff was often in his room practicing for hours on end. He was a student of music, absorbing everything. He wasn't just learning chords, he was studying the very essence of what made music powerful. This dedication was his escape and his purpose. It was the foundation upon which he would build his entire life. As we explore these formative years, we will see the emergence of a singular talent. It was clear to those around him that Jeff was special. It was his voice that truly set him apart. It was a raw, untrained instrument of incredible power and emotional depth. Each experience added another colour to his artistic palette. We will witness the slow process of an artist discovering the vastness of his own gift. This part of the story is crucial to understanding the man he would become. Music was his identity before the world gave him one. Before the fame, there was just a boy and guitar. It was a pure love affair with sound. From New York's vibrant clubs, where his legend began, to the creation of his iconic album Grace, we'll examine its themes of love and loss, and a complex relationship with his father, Tim Buckley. We will also confront his tragic death, and explore why this singular album continues to inspire devoted fans and artists. A voice that lives on forever. Jeffrey Scott Buckley was born in Inahan, California. His early life was one of constant movement. He was raised by his mother, Mary, a woman of immense strength and artistic sensibility. She filled their home with music. Jeff's stepfather introduced him to rock music, the likes of Led Zeppelin, Queen, Jimi Hendrix, and The Who. This music lit a fire in Jeff's soul. From a young age, music was more than just a background noise in Jeff's life. It was his primary language. It was a natural, innate talent. This upbringing was essential in shaping the artist he would become. While music filled home, there was also a significant absence. The ghost of his biological father, Tim Buckley. Tim and Mary's relationship ended before Jeff was born. Jeff met his father once, in 1975, when he was 8. Just months later, Tim Buckley died from a drug overdose. For most of his childhood, Jeff was known as Scotty, taking his stepfather's surname to shield him from his father's fame. To him, Tim was simply the man who was not there, creating a complicated void. As Jeff grew older, the ghost of his father became more present and comparisons began. It was a legacy he had not asked for, creating a deep internal conflict. He wanted to be recognised for his own talent, not simply as Tim Buckley's son. This complicated relationship would haunt him, fueling a fierce desire to forge his own identity. He was Jeff Buckley, an artist in his own right. Amidst the complexities of his family life and his nomadic childhood, Jeff found his anchor. He received his first proper guitar at the age of 14. This instrument was not just a gift, it was a key that unlocked his world. From that moment on, the guitar rarely left his hands. It would become an extension of his body, a vessel of all of the emotions and ideas swirling inside him. He would spend countless hours alone in his room, not just playing, but dissecting the music he loved. He meticulously learned the intricate guitar parts of his heroes, from Jimmy Page's blues-drenched solos to the complex progressive rock of Rush's Alex Lifeson. His dedication was absolute. He was not merely a casual player, he was a serious and disciplined student of the instrument. After high school, he enrolled at the Musicians Institute in Hollywood, a prestigious contemporary music school. He completed the one-year course, honing his technical skills to a sharp edge. He developed a deep understanding of music theory, harmony, and composition. This formal training, combined with his raw, self-taught passion, gave him a formidable command of his instrument. He could play with breathtaking speed and precision, but also understood the power of space and melody, a rare combination of virtuosity and taste. After graduating, Jeff spent the next several years as a guitar for hire. He floated between Los Angeles and various cities, playing in the series of bands that spanned a wide range of genres. He played reggae, funk, heavy metal, and even world music. These were his journeyman years, a period of musical apprenticeship. He was often just a background player, the talented guitarist in someone else's band. He was learning the craft, absorbing different styles, and expanding his musical vocabulary. While he wasn't the frontman, these experiences were invaluable, teaching him about performance, arrangement, and the dynamics of playing with other musicians. During this time, the guitar was more than just a tool for his trade. It was his lifeline. It gave him purpose and an identity. It was the one area of his life where he would express himself without reservation. While his voice was still a developing power that he was hesitant to unleash, his guitar playing was his shield and his sword. It was through these 6 strings of his guitar that he would begin to articulate the unique musical vision that was forming within him, paving the way for the incredible vocal artist who was waiting to emerge from the wing. For years, Jeff Buckley was known as just a guitarist. His voice remained hidden. He was shy about singing. In Los Angeles, he started recording demos on a 4-track. He experimented with his voice, singing his own songs and covers. These raw recordings revealed a vocalist of astonishing range. A tribute concert for his father pushed him into the public stage in 1991. After hesitation, Jeff agreed to perform as a way to pay respects. When he sang, he was no longer just a guitarist, he was a voice. This performance was a revelation. The experience gave him the confidence to pursue a solo career, and he moved to New York City. He had found his true calling. The name Buckley could open doors, but it also threatened to lock Jeff into a story that was not his own. The legacy of his father, Tim Buckley, was a constant presence, a long shadow. For Jeff, this legacy was a complex inheritance, a source of pride, but also a heavy burden. He was determined to be seen and heard for his own unique talents. He explored musical territories his father never touched. The relationship was a paradox he lived with every day. It was the painful conflict that made his music so deeply human. The moment of confrontation with his father's legacy was inevitable. It arrived in April 1991 in the form of an invitation to a Tim Buckley tribute concert in Brooklyn. Jeff was hesitant, having spent his life distancing himself from his father. After soul-searching, he decided to accept, seeing an opportunity for closure. He described it as a way to pay his final respects. On the night of the concert, the atmosphere in the church was thick with anticipation. When Jeff walked onto the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. He opened with one of his father's most personal songs. When he finished, the church erupted in standing ovation. He had stepped into the light and announced himself as a monumental talent. That night at St. Anne's was a personal and professional catalyst for Jeff. The experience of confronting his father's music was transformative, giving him the freedom he had been seeking. He had proved he was his own man, an artist with a voice that demanded to be heard. The industry buzz was immediate and intense. He started playing regular solo gigs, experimenting freely, and Jeff discovered a small, unassuming Irish cafe in the East Village. It was a long, narrow room, often with the clatter of coffee cups and the murmur of conversation. It was a neighbourhood hangout that happened to have a tiny space at the front for performers. There was no real stage, just a spot on the floor where a musician could stand with a guitar and a small amplifier. For Jeff, this intimate, informal setting was the perfect laboratory for his music. It was here that he truly found his footing as a solo artist. He started playing regular Monday night gigs. At first, only a handful of people would be there to listen. The audience was a mix of local residents, students, and other artists. Word began to spread about the young man with the astonishing voice. The whispers grew louder each week. People spoke of a performer who could silence the entire chattering room with a single soaring note. The small cafe became a pilgrimage site for music lovers in the know. They would pack into the tiny space, standing shoulder to shoulder, just to witness the magic happening on the patch of floor. His performances there were legendary for the spontaneity and the incredible range. On any given night, he might play one of his own fragile emerging compositions like Mojo Pin or Grace, before launching into a breathtaking cover. His choice of material was astonishing and diverse. He would sing songs by his heroes like Nina Simone, Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, and would tackle the traditional folk ballads. Each song was deconstructed and rebuilt in his own unique image, infused with his own profound emotion and vocal pyrotechnics. These nights were more than just concerts, they were intimate, shared experiences. Jeff would talk to the audience, tell jokes, and create a warm, immersive atmosphere. He was not a remote rock star, he was a musician sharing his gift in a room full of friends. Record label executives turned up, captivated by what they saw and heard. He was a singular talent, an artist who did not fit into any neat commercial box, but possessed a power that was impossible to ignore. The intense interest from various record labels culminated in a major decision for Jeff. He was cautious of signing a deal that would compromise his artistic freedom. After careful consideration, he chose to sign with Columbia Records, the same label as many of his heroes. The recording sessions for Grace were a masterclass in musical alchemy. Jeff Buckley and Andy Wallace worked to create a sound that was both epic and incredibly intimate. They wanted to capture the soaring cathedral-like quality of Jeff's voice while preserving the raw emotional vulnerability that made his shows so compelling. The goal was to build a sonic landscape that was as dynamic and emotionally resonant as Jeff's singing, a world of sound for his voice to inhabit. One of the defining characteristics of the album is its incredible dynamic range. The music can shift from a barely audible whisper to a deafening roar in an instant. Songs like Mojo Pin exemplify this, beginning with a delicate spider web-like guitar line before exploding into a storm of heavy rock. This was a conscious artistic choice. Jeff understood the power of contrast, the way that silence can make a loud moment even more powerful, and a moment of quiet tenderness can be even more impactful after a burst of fury. Andy Wallace's expertise were crucial in capturing those shifts, ensuring that every nuance and the softest breath to the loudest scream was recorded with stunning clarity. He wasn't just the words, he was living them. This dedication extended to his guitar playing, which on Grace is a rich tapestry of textures. The result was a sound that was unlike anything else at the time. It was timeless and modern, grand and personal, a perfect sonic vessel for the extraordinary collection of songs that would make up the album Grace. Grace was released on the 23rd of August 1994 after the intense work, the months of seclusion and the pouring out of his soul. Jeff Buckley's offering was finally presented to the world. The initial reception was not a massive commercial explosion. The album didn't immediately shoot to the top of the charts or turn into an overnight pop superstar. It was a musical landscape dominated by the grit of grunge and the swagger of Britpop. The unique genre-defining sound of Grace was difficult for mainstream radio to categorize. It was not an easy album to market, and its complex beauty required patient listening. Despite the slow commercial start, the critical response was overwhelmingly positive. Music journalists and critics who heard the album were stunned by the artistry and ambition. They praised Jeff's extraordinary voice, the depth of his songwriting, and the album's sheer breathtaking beauty. It received glowing reviews across the globe, with many hailing Jeff as one of the most significant new talents in music. Esteemed artists also took notice. Rock legends like Jimmy Page and Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin and even Bob Dylan expressed their profound admiration for the young musician's work. The album's influence steadily grew over time, its reputation solidifying from a cult favourite into a universally acknowledged masterpiece. Ultimately, Grace became Jeff Buckley's definitive statement. It was the one and only studio album he completed in his lifetime, a perfect self-contained legacy. It stands as a monumental achievement, a testament to what can be created with a singular, fearless talent, when a singular, fearless talent is given the freedom to follow his muse without compromise. The release of Grace placed an immense weight upon Jeff Buckley's shoulders. The album was intensely personal. Performing it became emotionally draining. To deliver them with the honesty they deserved, he had to revisit the raw emotional places every time he stepped on stage. The weight of his own creation was becoming a heavy burden to bear. Furthermore, the critical acclaim that greeted Grace created the pressure of expectation. He was hailed as a saviour of rock, a genius, the voice of a generation. He started to feel trapped by the success of his own album. His ongoing struggle with his father's legacy also continued to haunt him. This period was instead marked with a deep sense of unease. But Jeff was already looking for a new direction, a different sound that would reflect his changing landscape. He was searching for a way to move beyond Grace. To support Grace, Jeff Buckley and his band embarked on a seemingly endless tour. For nearly 2 years they lived out of suitcases, moving from city to city, from one venue to the next. This relentless schedule helped build the album's following, winning over new fans. However, the relentless nature of the tour began to wear him down physically and mentally. Life on the road was a blur. He grew tired of the industry machine and the interviews. This period of touring was a crucible that both solidified his legend and pushed him to a breaking point. But it was also where Jeff Buckley, the man, began to feel lost. In 1997, Jeff Buckley left the spotlight of New York and LA for Memphis, seeking a new direction. He embraced a simple life, blending in with locals, shedding his rock star persona. He craved something raw and unpolished, a stark contrast from the lush sound of Grace, inspired by bands like The Fall and Television. He recorded gritty demos on a 4-track. Tearing down his old image, Buckley played secret at baristas, reconnecting with music for his own sake. In Memphis, surrounded by musical ghosts, he was reborn. On May 29, 1997, Jeff was energized, with his band arriving and the recording was about to begin. Before the session, he and Keith visited the Wolf River Harbor. As Led Zeppelin played, Jeff waded into the water, laughing and singing, savoring a moment of freedom. The roadie turned away for a second. When he looked back, Jeff had vanished. The river was silent. The joy of the evening shattered. In an instant, hope turned to horror. Jeff Buckley was gone. The roadies searched, but the river offered only silence. Authorities launched a massive search, but days passed with no sign of Jeff. Rumours swirled, but there were those close to him insistent that it was a tragic accident and not suicide. His belongings left untouched at home spoke of plans for the future, not an ending. For 6 agonizing days the world waited, the river refusing to yield its secret. The city meant for his rebirth had become the stage for his unfathomable loss. On June 4th, 1997, Jeff Buckley's body was found downstream, confirming the world's worst fears. An autopsy ruled accidental drowning. No drugs, no alcohol. Just a tragic twist of fate. He was 30. His promise cut short. Grief rippled worldwide. Fans and artists mourned the silencing of a singular voice. Buckley's death was a cruel reminder of life's fragility. He died not in excess, but in a moment of joy. The loss remained immeasurable. His music and the ache of what might have been would echo for generations. Jeff Buckley's legacy only grew after his death. Grace became a modern classic, inspiring numerous artists. The echo of Jeff Buckley is a voice that refuses to be silenced by death. He gave the world one perfect album, but in the single offering, he gave us everything. His life was a fleeting, brilliant flash of light. The music he left behind is a constant star.